Now, let's go back to the studies because now the people have investigated. No, this is important for us because a lot of things are involved. Now, of course, we're going to move on from there just now. Because since it doesn't it usually lead to the loss of life, people are dead, and sometimes there are not even insurance coverage. So people are property are damaged. So I think it's important that we understand it. We understand from the basis, understand even the structure, like you already explained before. Now, what usually happen after these studies? Like, are the people paid? I mean, okay, 21-story building is a lot of it's a lot of material when it falls down. I don't know. Are there injury? When there are injury, who pays for these consequences? Just briefly, then we can move to the next one. Please go.
Okay. Usually, it will be the person found guilty. So, but if it is the engineer, normally that is the highest I think they could do to them is to seize their certificate and maybe jail terms. But payments, they are not that strong to make any payment. So even if someone is to be forced to pay, it will be the clients. It will be the clients. And of course, the payment is not normally that something good compare to what is obtainable from other developed countries. So in most cases, the loss is on the people that got it. Your family died, and that's all. In most cases that I've seen, that's all. Nobody talks about anything again.
That is very costly, no? It's very costly. So the people just lose this. Anyway, so let's go back again now. We are in Africa. We are Africans. We didn't just start building houses 2 or 3 years ago. Now, in your research, is there any way you sometimes go into ancient building in terms of the design of Nigerian houses? Okay, not only you in this case now, also because you have other lecturers under you. Sometimes you also work with other agencies, both local and federal. So I'm trying to understand if maybe the design of the Nigerian building sometimes have anything to do with the design because Africans in Nigeria will building houses for thousands of years. So help me understand if there's any connection there.
Uh, uh, well, we have been building houses for thousands of years, but the truth is, the the early people and the early buildings normally they take care of a lot of things, which the conventional building technology has proved to be too expensive and unsustainable. You will observe that in their building, a single column, that is a pillar, can be as wide as 1 meter. And you will see a building, as I was saying, we now today, we can build a very big sitting room without any column, uh, I mean, at the center. But uh, for the olden days buildings, that is not possible. So, of course, the we can it is not sustainable, and it is not even scientific, because they and in terms of safety, they are not that safe. They are not that safe. That is why you observe that when they collapse, probably because of the kind of method they use to do the building, if the occupants are more, they are they are always at alert, because you hear when those buildings collapse, you hardly hear that you hardly hear of any loss of life or injury, because it's like they know what they've done, and they any small sign of collapse, they evacuate. But nowadays, of course, we thinking we have done the scientific homework that's supposed to be done. We hardly notice the signs of collapse, or probably when we notice them, we already know some correctional method we can put on ground avoid the collapse, and we rely on them until something happens.
We rely on them. Okay, now I'm going to ask another question relating only to the same. Now, looking at uh, the Nigerian model of building, the standard. Because I want to repeat again that we'll be building houses for thousands of years. You look at, for example, the ancient pyramid. These are built thousands of years ago, and they didn't collapse. They are still there. If earthquakes have happened in those places, and they are still there, no. Okay, we can go away from Egypt and talk about Sudan. It's still there. We talk about go to ancient Zimbabwe. So I don't want to believe that this building were just not sophisticated in some senses. So, uh, what is the standard of building in Nigeria? Who really set the standard? What do we make it by? Because if we were to base it maybe like other African architectures, like ancient Zimbabwe that are still there, or maybe like the Egyptian pyramid that are still there, of course, we can say many of them are not collapsing. I'm not trying to say that the one that is scientifically proven is wrong, but I'm trying to understand this scientifically proven. Where is it even copying? Where is it coming from? Are we just copying other people because it is a better way of building houses, or because we didn't have anything to copy on our own? That is from the background my question is coming from.
Yes, thank you very much. You see, if you look at those pyramids, for example, that you mentioned, they are over-designed buildings. They are specially built. They are not, their villages are not built the same way those pyramids, are built. If you look at the pyramids, you will observe that in fact, they build them with a kind of consciousness, like building a shrine. So you even the villages, the common houses of those old ages, you don't see them anymore. Not only you don't see them anymore, they have also collapsed since. So those pyramids are specially built. They are overbuilt design where you're supposed to use, for example, one column, you use like 10 to ensure this thing is very strong. So these ones are especially traditional, cultural places, and that's the way their method of building, of course, is not sustainable. And I think that is what calls for the scientific way of building houses today. Now, how did we inherit how did we come about the scientific method of design? Of course, it comes from the colonial masters. And when they came, of course, they came with almost their everything. So that is why you observe that the building codes we've been using in Nigeria are the British standard. Till today, as I'm talking to you, although nowadays we do debate to use American standard because those ones are very easy and they make more sense to me personally. So when we use the British standard, even when British started using the European codes, that is Euro codes, we continue to, up to today, we continue to use the British standard, that's the BS standard. Although some engineers also use the Euro code, and but in terms of approval by Nigerian authorities, I think what they consider is the British standard and some Nigerian standard, because now we have some Nigerian standards too, like the NIBRI, Nigerian Building and Road Research Institute, have a specification, which is a standard for road construction. So we normally use that too. And also there are standard for certain aspect of materials and structures by the Nigerian Ministry of Works, and also the Standard Organization of Nigeria also has some codes that we do use also. So how did we come about this, our own codes? Of course, they were developed based on the existing British standard and our experience on the field. So we made some adjustments based on our experience in the field and using the British standard as the background. So this is how we come about the standards.
Thank you so much for that. You did make mention, okay, I'm not even going to talk about the American and the British standard. Since you made mention of the Nigerian standard, that become even more interesting for me now. Can you be more specific? What even make the Nigerian standard different from the American or the British standards, both in terms of the aesthetic, the design, and in terms of the durability of the structure for the Nigerian people?
Yeah, majorly what makes the standard different from the foreign standards is what is now very commonly heard, local content, what they call local content. So when we use their standard, you observe that, of course, there is serious variation between differences between their soils and ours. So, and their materials generally and ours. Their codes were developed based on the materials. So when we use them, we have understood the differences and we have been making modification on them when we are implementing the designs. So gradually we got the idea of where to change, and with that understanding, our own codes were developed. So if you say what is the differences, is majorly the variation in their materials and ours.
Okay, I still have not yet got it, which is the material, because I can tell you specifically, if you come to Italy, for example, where I live, if you are maybe in a two-story building in any city, you look at all the buildings, all the roofing, you have a pattern. There is a pattern here. If you go to US, you are still going to have there is a pattern. You don't just do things anyhow, mix up, mismatch the British or the Austria or the German pattern of building. There are standards for the country. So that if you were to be in the space, you look at it, you say, okay, this is the American building. This is different from the Italian building. It's even different from the French building. If you take a picture from outside, you can see this is the Austrian building. This is the German building. Of course, it's still building, it's still the same, but the pattern are a little bit different. That is why I really find it very interesting when you made mention of the Nigerian building. So if in Nigeria we're using the British style, we're using the American style, we're using the Nigerian style, what is the Nigerian style of building?
Okay, sorry, I need to clarify something here. What the codes that I'm talking about here for number one, for material quality, for soil type and investigation, for design also. This is where engineering comes in. In terms of aesthetic or the look of or the pattern of the building, as you mentioned, this is architectural concern. And is the architects that normally determine how the the architect and the urban and regional planners are the ones that normally determine the look and pattern of those buildings. Now, if you ask me what is the Nigerian pattern, well, I can't exactly say this is our pattern, although I know that some traditional buildings, like here now, if you come to the northern part of Nigeria, you will observe that their traditional building, it looks somehow. So they continue to do that traditionally. But anybody that build conventional houses, just you look at what they want, and the architects draw what they want, and that is all. If you say what is Nigerian standard, sincerely speaking, I can say.